Start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to recite a psalm. And dedicate this class to the well-being of all the Jews in Israel, especially the kidnapped hostages and the soldiers who are heroically risking their lives to protect the Jewish people from the arch enemies of the Jewish people and of humanity. So I'm going to say the 121st Psalm. First I'll say it in Hebrew, then in English. Shir l'malais es einai el haharim mi'ayin yavai ezri ezri mi'im adinai es shamayim va'aretz al yitein lamay traglecha al yanam shemrecha hini layanam v'layishan shem er Yisrael adinai shemrecha adinai tzilcha yad minecha Yomim Hashemesh le'yakeka v'yareach b'layla Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra'a yishmar es nafshecha Adonai yishmar tzeizcha v'yecha mi'ata v'yad elam. A song of ascents. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help will come from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Indeed, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers or sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. The Lord is your protective shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. The Lord will guard your going and your coming from now and for all time. Today we're going to be discussing something that relates to the number 4. As I mentioned in previous classes, this chapter of Ethics of the Fathers focuses on numbers, things that relate to the number 10, and from 10 it went to 7, and from 7 it's going to 4. The truth is that all these numbers are connected. 10 is the number of divine attributes. 10 are the number of the faculties of the soul that are divided into 2 categories. There's 3 intellectual and 7 emotional. So the 7 relates to the emotional, the 10 to the totality, and 4, there's another way of breaking down the 10 into 4 divisions, the 4 categories corresponding to the 4 letters of God's name. And everything in this world, every process goes through these 4 different stages, which we discussed in an earlier class. So here he talks about there are 4 types of character, 4 character types in human beings. Let's go through the 4, then we'll go back and discuss each one. The one character trait is the person that says, mine is mine and yours is yours.
That's it.
So what is this? Well, we're going to have to understand, what does that mean? Why is this so evil? If someone says mine is mine and yours is yours, you'd think that that's normal. So we'll get back to that. I just want to go through all 4 and put them in context. So that's number 1. Then you have the second character trait. The person who says, mine is yours and yours is mine. That's an unlearned person, an am ha'aretz, which is usually translated as an ignoramus. That's an ignorant position to take, that mine is yours and yours is mine. We'll have to get back to that one as well. There are different interpretations of that. Then there's one who says, mine is yours and yours is yours. That person is a chassid. That's the Hebrew, which they translate here as a pious person. Usually the word chassid refers to someone who goes beyond the norm, beyond what's accepted, does more than that. And the final category is one that says, mine is mine and yours is mine. That's a wicked person, which is hard to understand why Ethics of the Fathers is telling us that you shouldn't be a thief. You don't need Ethics of the Fathers to tell you that it's wrong to say that mine is mine and yours is mine. Obviously, that's someone who doesn't respect other people's property and steals. So the Rebbe once explained that this is not talking about a person who acts this way. There are people who are good people in terms of how they act. They're charitable. They share their wealth with others. But they say, mine is mine and yours is mine. In other words, in their mind, they feel everything is theirs. Even what they give away, they think is theirs. I'm the goodness of my heart, the kindness that I have, I am giving you what is really mine. Because really what you have is also mine. The world owes me everything, but I'm going to be so magnanimous, I'm going to share what I have with you. That's still a wicked person, even if he doesn't act in accordance with that. So let's get back to the four characteristics, one at a time. The first one that says, mine is mine and yours is yours. So that's normal. The Hebrew word over there is midah beinonis, a trait that is average. That's normal. There's nothing negative about that, because he says, look, mine is mine and yours is yours. But yet some say that this is a sodomite trait. Now what was it about the people of Sodom? These were the most cruel people, sadistic people who hated to do hospitality, who couldn't tolerate people giving of theirs to others. What they would say is, you have your property, stay out of Sodom. We're not interested in you. What is ours, and what yours is yours. So why is that such a negative thing? The people of Sodom were cruel, were sadistic. Why is this a negative thing if a person says this? So one way of understanding this, and some commentators, contemporary commentators understand this, that this is a repudiation of communism. What is communism? That what is mine, what is yours. We're all equal. Actually, the next trait is more of a repudiation of communism. Mine is yours and yours is mine. It means there is no ownership. But to say that sounds like a normal thing. So some say that when a person says mine is mine and yours is yours, that's a person who doesn't believe in sharing. Person who believes that everything that they have is theirs and exclusively theirs. I respect your property, you keep yours, I'm not going to take from you, I'm not going to try to compromise your ownership, but what's mine is mine, and I'm not going to share what I have with you. Why is that Sodom? Because Judaism is based on the notion that nothing that we have belongs to us exclusively. That what we have is intended to share with others. How much do we have to share? Well, the Jewish law says you're obligated to give at least 10% of your net income to charity, to help others, preferably 20%. And it even says you shouldn't give more than 20%, lest you become impoverished, and then you will depend on charity. And there are loopholes in that as well. You can find ways of giving more than 20%, but at least 10%. A person who says, what's mine is mine, and I don't have to share with you, that's a sodomite trait. Some go a step further. If you, as an individual, say what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, it's not the end of the world. Respecting other people's property is not a negative thing. But if everyone says it, it's going to destroy the world. That's sodomite. If everyone is very protective of their own property, even if they give charity, but they're so protective of their own, they can't feel the need to share what they have with others, that trait in the plural is destructive. And we have two separate levels of obligation. We have personal obligations and we have communal obligations. Sometimes my personal obligation, I can get away with minimum action. But I have to not just look at what my personal obligation is, I have to look at what my communal obligation is. A community cannot say what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. A community has to recognize that people have to share, which is the basis for taxation. Why do we have a right to tax people? Judaism recognizes the right of taxation. We don't like to pay our taxes, perhaps, but we know that that's the right thing. Why? Because we're part of a community. We're not just individuals. And we're part of a community. We have to share what we have with others. We could quibble about where our taxes should go and how much we should pay, and should we take advantage of loopholes in the tax system. But we definitely recognize the need that we have to have taxation. We can't just say what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. We have to share what we have with others. But that's because we have a communal responsibility. Then we have an individual responsibility. If someone comes to you and says, I'm hungry, I haven't had what to eat today, you can't say, well, I already paid my taxes. Or from a Jewish point of view, I already gave my charity, I gave my quota, I gave my 10% or my 20%. You have a personal obligation to help that needy person or needy cause. How much to give is dependent on your resources, on your abilities.
So, excuse me, if somebody come to my house, I don't know this person, first I want to eat, give me food, I need place to sleep. How many rooms you have? 2, 1 mile. It's correct?
You have a right to question that person, to get references. You can't just let everyone come into your house and take over your house. But if you know the person is a trustworthy person and is not a thief, and if you can help that person, then you have an obligation to help. Yes?
So if somebody come to my house,
not just somebody. You can't just expect you to help every somebody, because you don't know how honest that person is and what threats that person could pose to you. But if you know someone is a needy person and comes to you and asks you, you have to give something. How much you have to give, that's something up to you, based on your income, based on your abilities, based on all the other needs that other people have. But you have a personal responsibility. But in addition to your personal responsibility, you have a communal responsibility. You have to be part of a community, and the community has a right to levy taxes. And a Jewish community has a right to demand of all Jews to give 10 to 20% of their income to charity. That's a basic obligation in Judaism. That's not the gross income, it's after taxes, it's the net income. You have to give 10 to 20%. Now, the one who says, mine is yours and yours is mine, that's an unlearned person. That's an Am Haaretz. Now, some say that that's not what the word Am Haaretz means. It's used colloquially as an ignoramus. But literally, Am Haaretz means a nation of the earth. Someone who is part of society. Someone who lives a life in accordance with the needs of society. And that's a person who says, mine is yours and yours is mine. Let's share everything. That's a positive trait. That's what a kibbutz in Israel revolves around.
Yeah.
where everyone shares everything with everyone else. Now, on a small scale, that could work. But if you put this on a large scale, which is what communism is, it's deadly. It creates terrible situations in the world, as we have seen, that there has not been one country that was communist that was moral and decent. They were all evil. And the greatest evil was perpetrated by communist regimes. Soviet Union, China, North Korea, Cuba, Albania, and the others. Some are worse than the others, but it doesn't work. You can't say what is mine is yours and yours is mine, which means that nobody has any rights to any property. The reason why it's a problem is for many reasons, because what happens in the end is in communism, it's not true that everyone is equal. They impoverish the average person, and the leaders are the ones who become wealthy. Instead of the corporate leaders, the communist leaders become the wealthy people, and they do it by stealing from everyone else. So as bad as capitalism could be, sometimes unbridled capitalism could be bad, communism is 1,000 times worse. And for Jews, it was the most deadly ideology. How many millions of Jews were persecuted in the Soviet Union? How many tens of thousands were murdered in the name of communism? And I know that from my own wife's family, how much they suffered under the Soviet regime. So to say what's mine is yours and yours is mine, to share and everything is we share equally, that's a beautiful thing on a small scale. They tell the story, I think I told the story not too long ago. There was this chassid who was a follower of a Hasidic rabbi, and he wanted his father to become a chassid, and his father was not interested. So he finally convinces his father to come to the Rebbe for a Shabbos. And there he'll see the beauty of the Hasidic lifestyle. And he came there, he heard the Rebbe lead the services and speak, and it was inspiring and everything was nice, but at the end of Shabbos he says, you know what, it's very nice, but it's not my cup of tea. I'm not so impressed. It doesn't really speak to me. So the son said, could you please come to one other function? The Hasidim get together every Saturday night for a meal, and just join us for that meal. He says, why not? A free meal, why? Who could say no to it? That's not what he said. And then he comes in there, he sits down, and he looks at the head of the table. He says, that must be the host. And then he sees someone calling the shots, telling everyone where to go, what to do, what to eat, and he says, now that must be the host. And then as he spent more time in that house, he thought everyone there was the host. He couldn't figure out who was the owner of that house and who was the host of that meal. And that's what got him to become a chassid. When he realized that there was no such thing as this is mine and that's yours. No, we share this all equally. My daughter-in-law's great-grandfather was a very holy Jew, but he was also a little crazy, a little quirky. During World War II in Russia, there was terrible famine. Thousands upon thousands of people were dying of starvation. I know people whose entire families were wiped out because of starvation. And this Jew comes to town, comes to the synagogue. He hasn't eaten in who knows how long. He's starving. And apparently that community had some food. And he sees but when you're dealing with your fellow, a personal loan, we're not allowed to take interest, even a penny of interest. If you're in business and you have to take a loan, there's a special system, that's a special document you have to sign so that the loan is not considered a personal loan, it's considered a business loan, and it gets very technical. And in order for you to make that, to borrow that money and to make that loan. But when it's a personal loan, you can't take any interest. Not only can you not take interest, if someone lends you money, you're not even allowed to say thank you. Because I'm praising the person for the loan because you're paying them more than what you got from them. You got $100, you're giving them $100 plus praise. You can't do that either. Another thing you can't do is you can't give someone a loan, interest-free, thinking, right now, that person needs the loan. In the future, I might need a loan, and I'll go to that person and he'll give me a loan because he'll reciprocate. You can't even do that. And that's what he means over here when he says, mine is yours and yours is mine, that what I'm giving you now, mine, is now going to be yours, but I'm thinking that what's yours will eventually become mine. There'll be a reciprocation. When you give the loan, don't think of what you're going to get in return. The only thing that you can feel good about is that you did a mitzvah, but you can't expect anything else in return from the other person. That's considered to be interest in the loan. When the person says, mine is yours and yours is yours, it's interesting. This is the pious person. This is the person who puts the other person first. He could have said, yours is yours, which is normal for people to say, and mine is yours. No, at the very outset he says, mine is yours. His focus is on the other person. He's obsessed with and preoccupied with the other person, not with himself. And he's saying, I don't have anything. Mine is not mine. It's all yours. Yes?
Yes, exactly what happened now in Russia. Millionaires, they say to government, exactly to Putin, mine, it's yours. Yours is yours. I am ready to give you everything what I have. Why? Because I don't give myself. You will kill me and take this.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about here.
No, excuse me, this is...
No, we're talking about helping other people.
Mine is yours, and yours, it's yours. It's exactly what happened now in Russia.
Well, what happens in Russia is stealing from people, imposing themselves on people. That's different.
In the first place, communists say, yours, it's yours, and mine, it's yours. So we have everybody, have everything.
Nobody has in communism. Nobody has any real ownership of anything.
Yes.
But that's
yours is yours.
That's because the government steals it from everyone.
And real life, it's opposite. Yours it's mine, and mine it's mine.
That's the wicked person. The one who says yours is mine and mine is mine. That's the wicked person.
No, it's real life.
Okay, that's how unethical people think. But the person who says mine is yours and yours is yours, that person is recognizing that my life is not about what I have, it's about what I can give. That's how the pious person thinks. Now in Judaism, there is a belief, as we just said before, that we're not allowed to covet, we're not allowed to desire what belongs to someone else. And that means that you have to respect ownership. We do have ownership, but even though we have ownership, we recognize that not everything we have is really ours. What does that mean? God created a world with a disparity. There's a disparity between the haves and the have-nots. Why did God create a world that way? Because if everyone had, then nobody would be able to help anyone else. And that's not true, not just true about money, about property, it's true about wisdom. You have a world in which you have teachers and you have students. Why can't everyone just be knowledgeable? Why can't everyone have all the wealth that they need? Because if that would be the case, they wouldn't be able to help others. One of the evils of the communist system is that they take away ownership of property. That means if I don't own anything, I can't give anything. The government in Russia, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the Soviet government didn't like the idea of private philanthropy, people helping other people. That's the government's job. The government does a very good job of that, of providing for everyone. You're insulting the government by being charitable. But that's the evil, that's one of the evils of communism, that people don't have the opportunity to give others. So God created a disparity in the system. There are the haves and the have-nots. So people could exercise kindness. If a person will not use his or her right hand, a right-handed person, they won't use it for weeks and months, they'll lose the ability to use it. It'll atrophy. If we don't act in a giving way, what happens to us? We lose our ability to be kind. You want someone to be kind, let them do acts of kindness. Don't deny them the opportunity. Let's say you're on the receiving end of someone's charity. You might think to yourself, I don't want to take charity. I don't want to be a recipient. I don't want to receive. And there's some merit to that feeling. There's a biblical expression, one who hates gifts will live long. People shouldn't love to get things from others. But on the other hand, if you're in need and someone wants to help you, you're helping them more than they're helping you. Because by you receiving what they're giving, you're giving them the opportunity to express and exercise their kindness. So sometimes when you're on the receiving end, you should feel, you know what, it's not comfortable to be on the receiving end, but you know what, I'm doing that person a favor. You shouldn't feel guilty about asking someone to give charity. Sometimes organizations have a hard time asking people to contribute because it's not comfortable to ask someone else to give. But if you really think about it, you're helping that person. You're giving that person an opportunity to validate their existence. So that's what having property is very important. Having ownership is very important. But there's a caveat to that. Because God wants me to give person X who's in need, God could have given it directly to person X. So God says, you know what? I want you to have the opportunity to exercise kindness. So I'm giving you what belongs to X. I'm giving it to you. You're a trustee. I'm putting it in your possession temporarily until such time that you give it to the real owner. So that's, the chassid is the one who recognizes that what I have is really not mine. It's really the person whose needs are greater than mine. That is who is the true owner. I'm just a trustee. I'm just holding it in trust for such time when I give it to that person.
If we don't expect reciprocation, are we in denying them the opportunity to give? Or if we... No,
it's not wrong for that person to reciprocate. It would be a very nice gesture for them to reciprocate, but you shouldn't give with that intention.
But if they don't reciprocate, it's not their habit,
Well, it's not. You should still feel that you did the right thing.
But we're denying, maybe, encouraging, if they had the opportunity.
No, everyone has an obligation to help. And if giving a loan is possible, then that's the mitzvah. Actually, lending someone money is a greater mitzvah than giving charity.
Yeah.
Because the Talmud says when you lend money, you could lend even to a rich person. You can't give charity to a rich person, but if a rich person is in need of some capital for an investment and he needs a loan, even though he's a multimillionaire, but he's short on cash right now, you have a mitzvah. So lending money has an advantage over a charity. They're not mutually exclusive. We can do both.
That's why we have the Free Loan Society.
That's why every Jewish community of note has a free loan society where
Including Buffalo.
Including Buffalo, yes. I said every community of note.
Even now? Buffalo's
Even now, right?
She's in charge.
Right.
Yeah, ask me about it.
In New York, you probably have hundreds of such organizations where they lend. We're talking about not just $1,000, $5,000, but $50,000, $100,000. Some organizations have that. There's a tremendous amount of kindness that goes on in the Jewish community, either by the charitable or loans, free and interest-free loans. Now, talking about Sodom, the Sodomite people were very creative in their inhospitality, in their cruelty. Their insistence that everything that they have is theirs and they didn't want to share it with others went to the extreme. If someone was caught being hospitable, sharing their wealth with others, they would be put to death. The Midrash tells a story that there was this was the straw that broke the camel's back. When God said, I have to destroy the city, the cries have come to me. This was a pattern, but this is the straw that broke the camel's back. This woman gave some food to a guest, and she was taken, she was undressed, and her body was covered with honey and placed near beehives so the bees would sting her to death. That was the punishment. That was their punishment. And we read in the Torah, we just read it last week, that Lot, Abraham's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and when the angels came to tell him that they're going to destroy the city and he's going to be saved, they were disguised as humans, and the people demanded that he give up these people so they can be sodomized. That's where the word sodomy comes from, because. And they said, what you did is even worse than these guests. What gave you a right to have guests in your home? To them, having guests, inviting other people in your home, sharing what you have with others, was the ultimate evil in their perverted minds. And that's why that society can never survive. It had to be destroyed. If anyone has any questions.
Mine is the wicked person.
So it's not just to conclude, it's not just people who behave this way are wicked. As I mentioned before, the person who says this, who has this mindset, what's mine is mine and yours is mine, even what I give to you is really mine, that's a very negative trait. And the Torah is so much opposed to a mindset that takes the position that our own property is ours absolutely. There's nothing that's absolute in life except for God and the Torah and the commandments. Property, today I have it, tomorrow it's gone. It says that good fortune is like a wheel, the wheel of fortune. Sometimes a person could be wealthy and then they can lose their wealth. It's a cycle. So even when you have it, you know it's not absolute that it's yours, and it should not be hard for you to part with it.
If government gives 70% taxes, mine is mine, but it's yours too.
The government
70% and don't have responsibility for what they take.
Well, that's corrupt. That's corruption. Governments can be corrupt. Every government has corruption in it. What's considered to be legitimate taxation? So in a Hasidic work, it talks about the problems that people have today economically, and he says it's not taxes is the problem, because in biblical times they would tax 10%, and that was considered high taxes, and we don't even have 10%. In other words, 10% taxes is considered to be high taxes. The government should not be taking more than that. But it depends on the needs of the government, obviously. And it depends on how much waste there is. But that's why Judaism believes that we shouldn't rely on taxation for our charity. I know people who feel, I pay my taxes, why do I have to give charity in addition to that? No, you have to give charity, and in addition to that, you have to pay your taxes. What you give personally, charity, is much more of a mitzvah than paying taxes, because the government cannot be trusted that they collect taxes equitably and they use it for the right things. But with the charity that you give personally, that's a definite mitzvah. Although Talmud tells us that the prophet Jeremiah was very upset with the people that persecuted him, and he cursed them. What was his curse? His curse was that when they give charity, they should give it to unworthy causes. That's a Jewish curse. That when they do a mitzvah, they shouldn't do it the right way. They shouldn't get credit for it because they gave it to the wrong cause. So when we give tzedakah, we have to make sure that we're giving it to the right cause. We know the government cannot be trusted that it gives it to the right cause only. There are so many things, such waste, and I'm not going to go into the specifics, but we all know how much, if we would be running the government, we would do it very differently.
What about charity to a non-Jew? If you see a non-Jew...
Yes, the Talmud says that a Jew is obligated to give charity, but there's a hierarchy, there's a system. You can't give to everything and everyone, so charity begins at home. The first mitzvah obligation of charity is to your own family, by extension to your own community, the Jewish community. By extension, actually it's considered to be equal to Israel, and then beyond that to non-Jewish causes as well, in order to promote peace between Jews and the rest of society. Okay. But there are people that are unfortunately very wealthy Jews, billionaires, who give hundreds of millions of dollars to universities and give nothing to Jewish causes. Now, one shouldn't give a penny to universities with all the anti-Semitism that's going on in universities. Of course, there are some exceptions, but don't give to Harvard, Columbia, Yale, University of Pennsylvania, Cooper Union, I think it's called, and I'm sure there are, and Stanford and many others that are filled with anti-Semitism, and the leaders don't do anything. I wouldn't give a penny to any university. And I think it's time for Jews to stop supporting causes that are